Hey folks, Ryan Critchett here. Wanted to do this video that I tried to do a couple days ago, yesterday I think maybe, and that what happened? The battery like died on my phone or something. Or no, I ran out of space on the phone, and so couldn't do the video. But it's about a common theme, a common idea that people have in the business world and in entrepreneurship, and that's building two companies at one time. Or, operating a company and then having another company that you're spending some time focusing on, whether it's the preliminary research on it, or it's building it, or it's running it. And so, let me just set some context as a preface to this podcast. I have on two separate occasions been running a company and then doing the research and the initial stages of getting another company off of the ground. And so first, it was in building my current company, iMobile Rescue, where we fix iPads for organizations around the country, and doing the biz dev and the marketing, and then doing some administrative stuff, doing a little bit of operations, but mostly doing growth, managing the website, doing the technical part of the website, looking for new deals, strategizing on how to find new deals, and then reaching out to bridge the gap and finding those customers. And then at that time, that was taking, of course, all of my time, and I had a co-founder who was working on the operations of the company. I spent all my time, working on, the biz dev and building of that iOS device services company. And then also at the same time, I was learning to code Ruby on Rails and doing the development of a product, of a software product that would basically, got put on the back burner, but it's basically a product that would allow an entrepreneur or otherwise productive business person to synthesize all the important upward mobility tasks in a program that actually was designed to help facilitate the creation of those tasks. So when you think about business productivity, specifically biz dev and growing a company, making it make money, make traction, there's a good process to elicit what strategy you're going to do and what things you're going to act on, and there's a subpar process, And a good process, for example, would be to ask a lot of questions about, okay, how can we affect this? Let's get real granular about what happened in the last 2 weeks. Did we make $1,000 more this week than the last week, and why? And how do we affect that? What's happening? What are the critical identifications in the interest of upward mobility that we need to make? And asking all those questions and having a program do that for you. Help you to sort of ask the questions, and then slots and a way to structure it all and to notate the answers to those questions, and then planning to execute on that stuff. That's sort of what the program would do. Still going to launch probably just in the back burner for now for my particular business endeavors. Anyway, I was working on building a company, and then laying the groundwork for that company, which was exhausting, and it gave me zero time to renew or restore. Even though I would try to lay on my stomach for a half hour and and meditate and restore, taking 30-minute naps, taking naps during the day so I can restore mental energy, really paying attention to food intake and supplements for brain function, etc. But still, it's going to burn you out. Moving forward, one of the things that I've decided to do is potentially build a brain supplement, a supplement that's really a nutrient, a bunch of nutrients combined into a couple capsules that facilitate brain function, like quats derived from amino acids that mobilize fatty acids and send them to the mitochondria of your brain cells to make your brain function better, in combination with precursors to major neurotransmitters that make your focus work better and a bunch of other things. Right. So thinking about building that company. And I've started the groundwork for that, a lot of groundwork, and StartupCell, the blog itself, is actually part of that. And then the research and then the experimentation with various nutrients and then putting together, I have a little lab where I put together various nutrients to test this, the synthesis of various stuff. And that is a whole nother company, right? It's really the company of StartupCell and StartupCell's products and future stuff. Then there's also physical tech, which I don't know, maybe you heard me talk about this. Those of you who follow the blog know me, or we interact at some capacity about entrepreneurship or energy or anything. Another company that's actual physical tech that is just oriented in the direction of better brain performance for executives and for entrepreneurs, for just effective, productive people. And so I guess so the point of this is really like when when you're running and building a company, because now like I don't have a co-founder anymore. My co-founder of the current company has since moved on to do other things, and I'm running mainly operations, and I outsource a lot of stuff, and I do 1099 stuff. And having to do that, right? And this company is, all in all about 2 years old, and then still has some time to go, and I still have to play a very major part of it if I wanted to go where I wanted to go. And then thinking about building other companies and doing the groundwork and laying the foundation to build some of my other companies in the future. I guess what I've come to understand is that it can be done, because I'm doing it, but there are a lot of downsides. And when Steve Jobs says like, you really should just focus exclusively on one thing, and when people say that, I think to go past like an obvious, like very, very surface meme and into like your core kind of neurological like programming, where you understand like, oh wow, I have now context to pair this with, like experience to validate the legitimacy of that phrase or that idea to exclusively focus on something. That transition is like, wow, I really get it now. Now it's just not some simple phrase. So if I say that to you, like, oh, like you should just focus on one thing and focus on one business and focus on that exclusively, you're gonna go, oh yeah, okay, good, I got it. Like, I've heard that 100 times, and sure, it makes sense. But there is an entirely different neurological process, an entirely different, like, ingrained kind of programming that happens when you do it and when you realize you need to do it. And when you're spread too thin working on two businesses, and you're like, wow, I really understand now at this internal level about the orientation of my focus and how I'm going to be more effective in using it. But at the end of the day, if you think about when you sit down and try to get something done, when you're doing marketing or biz dev or working on a product, the way that you maximize your ability to get that stuff done is by spending a lot of time exclusively focusing on that and like not having a lot of inbound stuff happening. What that means is that it means that your orientation should always be. It means that that's a really important thing. It means that exclusive focus, because when you sit down to get something done, the way you get the best out of yourself is like immersion and hours of doing it. And the same thing applies on larger scale. So like, it's a small task. Okay, I'm doing a task right now. I need all my concentration so I can recruit a lot of my brain to like be able to work on this thing. And then it does scale up and generalize out to like the bigger tasks, like building a company. Like mental energy is a real interesting thing. And not that you don't have infinite capacity to function, because I believe you do, because you have infinite ability to make your brain function good and to engage in restoration, which I think is what makes it more infinite. But it works better when, like, literally there's a neurological underpinning here where you recruit much more of your brain, you start using more of your brain. There's probably some, like, to get more detail, there's probably some enhancement of information over the traveling between the hemispheres, this thing called the corpus callosum, which is like sort of splitting both of your hemispheres, and then information travels between hemispheres through that sort of threads, bit of threads in your brain. When that happens, you have more of your right side brain capacities integrated with left side brain capacities, and that makes for a better, more integrated, functional, productivity session. And then it's the same thing when, on a larger scale, when you think about, building businesses. So, do I think it could be done? Building two companies, working on one company, and then building another company? Yes. But what I would say is that if you're going to do that, the thing that I've just taken away, and trust me, I can only see this in retrospect because I've made a lot of mistakes in this area particularly, is hire people to do as much of the operation stuff as you can, so that you can free yourself up to work on the other companies or the other stuff, right? Just try to get there as soon as you can. And it takes time, because it takes money. You're going to hire people, right? For me, in those situations, I've outsourced a lot of stuff, which tends to work. And that depends on the orientation of your end goal. You want to sell your company, you may need a bunch of employees and have them be on 2-year contracts to stay with the company. If you don't want to sell the company and you want to maximize profits and just use it as an asset, then you could outsource and do other things. It all really depends on what you want to do. That's why I always get confused when people say, well, like, this is how you should do it, or this is how it should be done. It's like, there's just so many different dynamics within businesses that it kind of always changes. Yeah. So find people to do a lot of the tasks that take you off course, and then so that you can spend more time focusing. Yeah, sure, you could build another company while you're working on one company. If a lot of the functionality, work-wise and otherwise, and biz dev-wise and otherwise within that company is being delegated to someone else who's just as effective, if not better than you at doing it, because then you can go and focus on those other things, right? You know, if you have someone running your company and the company does enough revenue to pay that person or a team, and you're still okay as a founder, and you can still, maximize your shareholder profits, which is the intention, and or save for another company, and then you can focus on building another company. That works. Then you have more of your brain. And we're talking about, again, this like integrated brain, the ability to recruit a lot of your internal thinking resources to like focus on something exclusively for a long time. At the end of the day, it's also about energy, right? It's also about like, it's really hard to maintain the energy, even if you're doing all of the a lot of optimization for brain function, to basically run one company and run another company, to run and build another company. It's just too much, and so it can be done, at the expense of your health probably, and certainly in the raising of your stress hormones, and the deleterious effect that has. But the takeaway that I found that relates particularly to my situation and hopefully to some others out there is delegate a lot of the work out to someone or a team, and then if you're going to work on two companies, and then that'll free you up to have, to put more focus on working on, some of your other companies.